In this episode of BizJet TV, we're going to talk about planning a private jet flight, how to navigate safely and efficiently, in particular after the latest news, which I talked about in my previous video about fake signals causing BizJets to lose loss of navigation, which is a bit of a concern right now because, you can end up in Iranian airspace without even knowing you're there and get shot down. So let's talk about this. It's very, very important. If you haven't subscribed to BizJet TV, go ahead and do so. Get yourself a copy of my book, The Quantum Economy. You can click the link below. Quantum is really important these days, the quantum economy, understanding the geopolitical situation, understanding businesses that are going to be the businesses of the future and the areas in the world where to invest and how important it's going to be for you to have your own private jet to go in and out and do business there. And there's all this information here in the quantum economy. So click on the link below to get yourself a copy. So let's get into the 4 points I want to discuss today about private jets and how to navigate safely and efficiently. The first thing is flight planning. Now, flight planning is really important. Now, whether you're flying your plane yourself, you need to learn how to do this. If you're flying internationally, it's even trickier, or otherwise you have to have pilots that know what they're doing. And this is why I always say to people, everyone comes to me wanting to buy an aircraft and it's all about the plane. I said, wait a minute, because the most important thing is the pilot, not the plane. So today we're going to focus, and I'm going to really hone this point across to you in how the pilot can really make a difference, whether you have a brand new spanking G650 or an older Global Express. The pilot can really determine safety or non-safety. So flight planning, you've obviously got the route, and if you're going anywhere near Iran and that right now, you want to avoid that particular airway. You've got the weather. That's another thing that needs to be looked at on the day. You've got air traffic control, permits, and fuel planning. And part of the planning is also the alternate aerodromes. And so in this case, you would always choose 2 alternate aerodromes. One would be a technical alternate, which is usually close by. Just to give you an example, if you're flying into New York, you'd maybe have LaGuardia as your alternate. London, Heathrow, you'd have your alternate would be Gatwick, and that would be your technical alternate. And then you would have a meteorological alternate, and that has to be as further away as possible, close as possible. There has to be a balance between those two in order for the weather to be different, but not to require too much fuel to get there. And so, in the case of London, you may choose Birmingham, for example, because Birmingham, the weather will be different than London. And New York, you may choose Philadelphia or Boston. These are kind of the things. So that's important. Your routing is important also because sometimes the shortest route may not necessarily be the most economical route. I mean, I used to operate flights down to the Canary Islands from Manchester for a charter airline, and we used to go down this airway. It was partly transoceanic, the flight. We used this, I think it was Tango 6 airway, because even though it was 10-minute extra flight time, the cost of using that airway instead of using the other airway, which was basically over the coast, it was a big difference. So it was more economical for us to fly an extra 10 minutes. So these are and also landing fees at airfields. You need to go to London. There's many different airports you can land at in London, but London City, the landing fees are really high compared to the other airports. So is it really, really necessary to land at London City Airport? Is there an airport nearby which is better? Weather, depending on the type of airport you're going into. If you're going into a mountainous airport in the winter, like Aspen, for example, you want to check the weather. You want to check, snow, ice, contaminated runways, all those kind of things. Is the de-icing available at the airfield? That's another thing. How long does it usually take? How much does it cost? All these kind of things are part of the flight planning, which is why, if you are an entrepreneur and you fly your own airplane, you've got to think about all these things in your planning phase, as well as the business deal you're about to go and do. And this is why it's always recommendable to hire your own professional pilot that can do all these things for you, just like John Travolta does. And then you can just jump in and do the enjoying bit, which is, the actual flying. So that's flight planning, and those are the things that go into your flight planning. Fuel, obviously, before I finish the flight planning, is really important. You need to have enough fuel to get there and have extra 45 minutes of fuel, be able to fly to your alternates and that. You need to build that in, and sometimes you want to take a bit more extra fuel as well. You never know what could happen along the way, so carrying some extra fuel equals extra time, and if you've got extra time, then you've got more time to think and to plan, and take action accordingly. And that's really, really important. What you don't want to do is be in the air and start seeing the fuel go down. You haven't got much time. The pressure's on. And you could end up making a really, really bad mistake. So carry extra fuel, because for what it costs you, I mean, you spent 20 million on buying a jet. Take the extra fuel. What you can do is maybe land at an FBO where fuel's cheaper. You can work around that way, but I wouldn't try and go on the cheap, as in, well, we'll just carry 200 pounds less of fuel just for the sake of it. No, just take the extra fuel, because you never know. And if you don't need it, you're safe. But what you don't want to be in a situation where you wished you had the extra 200 pounds of fuel. Fabrizio here. You're contemplating either chartering, leasing, or buying a private jet. I'm here to help. So here on BizJet TV, we can only give out general information. Same in my book, The Quantum Economy. All important to watch the videos and read the book. But more importantly, we need to get specific. And in order to get specific, we need to get on a one-to-one call. So let's get on a video call. So ping me an email. You can see my email here below, and we'll schedule you in for a call and get you flying private very soon. Back to the video. Now, next, of course, weather. Weather is really important. You've got to look at turbulence en route. You've got to look at turbulence coming in. Is there a lot of turbulence? If the weather's bad, there's storms and that, you're probably going to get a lot of turbulence as you're coming in. Thunderstorms. What are thunderstorms like? What's the forecast saying? Low visibility, it's another thing. What type of instrumentation do you have on board? Can you land in low visibility with the equipment you have on board? Are your pilots trained to do low visibility landings or not? Are they experienced doing this? These are sort of things that need to be considered as well. You see, so you start to seeing now how important the pilot is. Next is the aircraft, and here the aircraft inspection. So is all the maintenance up to date? And make sure there's no outstanding items or anything that needs to be done next week. Maybe it's best to get it done now if you're going on a long trip, instead of wait till you get back, because the thing expires the next day. So kind of play the preventative game on that, and then make sure you or your pilot does a good thorough walk around. In particular, if you've left the airplane overnight in a place where you're not used to it, especially when you're traveling overseas, you want to make sure that nobody's damaged the aircraft or taken bits off the airplane and that, because that does happen. So make sure you do, or you have your pilot do a thorough walk around. The next thing is weight and balance, and this one can be a big killer, and it's happened a number of times on Pilatus PC-12s. Because of the nature of the airplane with that cargo door, people tend to pile on a load of stuff in the back of the airplane, and they don't do their weight and balance, and they take off, the airplane's out of trim, and boom, crashes and kills everybody. So you want to make sure your weight and balance is done properly. There are apps out there today to help with all these things I've been talking about, but you need to know how to use them. And weight and balance is something that must not be that needs to be looked at. It's very, very important. Even in a small Cessna, you need to make sure you're distributing the weight in the right way. So getting your weight and balance sheet out and calculating that, make sure you're staying inside the envelope, is really, really important. And balance your passengers, your cargo, your baggage, all that kind of thing, and your fuel, and make sure you're in the right space with your weight and balance. So these are the four important things to look at when you're planning a flight on your private jet. And it's, as you can see, it's really important here that you have good pilots, and also on the baggage bit, when you're buying a private jet, you need to make sure that you're going to have enough baggage space to carry all the bags you intend to carry. And if you turn up with an extra bag and your pilot says, no, sorry boss, we can't take that, that's why I did the video, hire pilots that say no, and that's really, really important. So this is where pilot training really does come into it. No matter what airplane you have, your pilots need to understand these things and make sure that they're not risking, and you shouldn't be pushing your pilots to take too many risks, because safety is really, really important. Because you're on the airplane, you could end up killing the people on the plane and maybe killing people on the ground as well. So safety is paramount when you're operating an aircraft, and whether you're flying yourself or somebody else is flying you, make sure these four things are done properly and safely. So, hope you enjoyed this episode of BizJet TV. Give us a thumbs up and click the notification bell so every time we publish, you will get notified, and get yourself a copy of The Quantum Economy. Lots of information here. And if you want to talk about buying an aircraft or leasing an aircraft or even charters, why not ping me a message on email, and we'll get you in on a call and see what we can do for you here. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of BizJet TV. Make sure you check out this interview I did with a Honda Jet crash survivor. This is a gentleman that flies his own Honda Jet. He had a situation and ended up going off the runway and damaging his aircraft. Everybody walked away. That's the important thing. And so you want to check that one out. It's a very, very interesting interview. It's a video that's trending very nicely at the moment here on BizJet TV. So I hope you enjoy that one. That's all from Fabrizio on BizJet TV, and I'll see you on the next one.